So we're recording now.
Okay, I'm not able to record, so you are recording from there?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, then
So
I can.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do then. So we're going to record our discussion.
Okay.
I'm going to upload it to YouTube on a privacy setting.
Sure.
So it will only be you and me who can see it, and anybody else that you want to give that URL to.
Okay.
So nobody else can see it except you and me and anybody that you decide to show it to. So it's your information, and you can decide how much you want to use.
Okay, it is great. I want to see you talking, but on my screen I can't see your video, just the picture right now.
So I'm not live, eh?
Not live there on my screen. I can see my small portion on the top right side, but not yours. So what shall I do here?
So at the bottom there is a camera. Do you want to try switching it on and off? I'm not sure why you can't see me, because I can see you.
Let me see. It's not working. So I don't know what happened.
How be we hang up and you call me. See if that makes a difference.
Okay, I'll call again. Yes, I can see you now. Yes, I can see you. Great.
Okay. Yes. So I'm outside, so it's a bit of a strange image, but I'm outside, so. And I know it's not warm where you are, but it's lovely here.
It's okay for us. Today it's 0 there outside, and it's really chill for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. It must be a shock, actually.
Yes. Slowly I'm getting shock every day.
So, as I said in the email, where we always start with living theory is with your values. And in the workshops, we always ask people to talk about what really matters to them, and then have conversations with another person about, what are the values that you try to live by. And as we know, we aren't all perfect, so we don't always live according to our values, and that's when we are what Jack Whitehead calls a living contradiction.
Yes.
So maybe you could just tell me a story about something that was really special in your life, or you could tell me what's really important to you, or you could, I could give you a few minutes if you want to think about it. Where do you want to go?
I can start now. What is really important for me these days is I want to link with my research, the study which I'm doing. In the research, what I have been experiencing is, as a researcher, most of the researchers we find they are with their head, not with their heart. But in the whole engagement in the field research, talking with the people, being with them, and working together in the research, I feel that we researchers have missed our heart. And every time I feel like I have put my heart into my research, but people are not understanding me, getting me, like actually what have you been doing. And I didn't have an answer, like actually what I was doing I was not also sure, because I never read about that, the way I was working in the field, the way I was dealing with the people. And gradually I have been getting that I was giving my whole heart to the research in the process. And it was all about the I cannot particularly say love, but also it's about love, like the way the mother loves to the children and the way our teacher love to the student. It's somewhere there, but I cannot give the particular term in the research way. But uh, whenever I share, I feel like I have not shared completely because the way I walked, I could not bring to the discussion. So there, in the conference, what I have learned is I got my community where I can share and where people understand me. So that was very mesmerizing moment for me. And regarding the work which I want to do right now with you in your help, it's about collaboration. And as my research is on teachers' professional development through collaboration and reflection. So I have seen collaboration as one of the values which I have been working on it, and also reflection as I have my approach is participatory action research. So if I can look into collaboration and reflection as major values, so that I can bring all those my wholeheartedness in the discussion, because collaboration itself is a spiritual value, and that value has driven me towards many other spiritual values. So in the beginning I felt like I was not collaborative, I was more individualistic. I used to love to be on my own, working alone, and not to be with the people, and would not in, did not used to enjoy at all. But slowly and gradually what I feel is I find a kind of synergy being with other people more than myself. I feel like when I'm connected with them, there is something new which I get every time, and that makes me feel alive. And that is very much energetic. Like there may be the terms which I'm not able to express right now, but I feel so energetic when I connect to the people, communicate with them, and find something new meaning in it. Although whether it is in research or in everyday life, so that uh, right now what I have thought is three major things. Like I want to bring, most probably I may bring in my thesis writing or dissertation writing about my heart, that is of love. I may not be able to discuss now, but in that particularly in that paper I want to talk on collaboration and reflection as major two values, because I have collected few evidences where I improve my practices in collaborative way of working, and in also in reflections. So every time we have done something better in the collaboration process and in the reflection process. So I have evidences in my journal, and in photos, probably I may have in photographs. So in maybe in some videos I may have those things. But in the beginning I was not prepared for or I was not planning to do uh, or I was not well prepared to go through the living theories. I never thought in that way. I was with my open heart and open mind in the field. I did not have any particular framework to go in the field. So as I have been making meaning of my research, I came to know that I'm realizing that I'm very near to the living theory, and every time knowingly, I must say unknowingly, I was posing the question and how can we do better. I was posing those questions or keeping asking to myself and to the teachers the same question: how can we improve whatever we have been doing. So maybe I may have so many evidences on collaboration and reflection.
Okay, so you started out talking about love as a value, and then you kind of put it aside and you said, no, the main values are collaboration and reflection. So why did you take love out as one of your main values?
um, like I have evidences of collaboration and reflection. Like for this conference, I worked for almost a month to prepare the abstract and to prepare the presentation so that later I can develop into the paper. So I worked a lot on it. So based on that, I have so much evidences on it, and I have gone through each and every component of it so that I'm very much clear like where I am. But regarding love, it's within me now, it's not explored it. So I need to look into it in depth. But I'm sure that what I have, my main value is love, nothing else. So I need to, I need to have some references, some evidences, so that to use the, to dare to use the word love in the professional development.
Dare to use it. Whoa. Well, you go for it. Okay.
Because in our context, love is not like such very easily accepted, not only in the university but in the practices, because being like the place where I worked, I'm few teachers are older than me and few are quite young. And when I say use the word love, then the meaning may be something different. Maybe it may be limited to the physical or some conditional love. So I didn't mean to have conditional, rather it is unconditional way of behaving, being lovingly with them. So it's it's a risk. So I'm saying that it will be a daring project.
Okay. All right. So we've established that you've got, at this point in your analysis, you've got three main values: love, collaboration, and reflection.
Okay.
All right. Now, what we need to the next step in that, and you've already articulated it, is your desire to improve your practice, in particular in working on understanding what love means to you, and in what sense you use it, and that you've worked on being more collaborative. That wasn't your comfort zone to start with, and now you're finding that you're getting a lot out of being collaborative. Okay.
Mhm.
So we're talking now about how we improve our practice, right? So your practice that you used in that slideshow was working with teachers in professional development, right?
Right.
So, so I gave you the kind of the main ideas in living theory that you've got to work with. One is the values, so you've now articulated them. Now you have to show some examples of where you're living those values, or times when you're not living according to those values, and that's your living contradiction. And you have to show in the writing that you are working on a particular aspect of your practice.
Mm.
And so you started on that road as well. So I would say that you've already, even in these few minutes, articulated the beginning of an article. There are a few things that we always do in these articles too, and one is showing your context. Your socio-historical context. So that was a funny episode today with the time change, though, wasn't it? I just assumed you were in India. And so I'm looking up, 4.5 hours ahead in India. How will we set this up? And then all of a sudden, I checked this morning and I realized, oh, for goodness sake, you're in Norway. That was so funny. And your context is that you grew up and you lived and you still live in India. So you need to
In
talk a
Nepal. In Nepal. In Nepal.
Nepal, right? So you need to talk about a little bit about your, physical context, a bit of your historical context. And so people can, when the reader reads it, they can kind of understand where you're coming from. So you could write a little bit of that history of your life. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And then you can bring it up to the present now, where you're actually working with teachers on professional development and what that looks like. So, and I'm not fully clear on that. So you were working with teachers in Nepal, like in your own hometown, or?
Away from hometown.
Okay. And how did you happen to be working with teachers on their professional development?
Before to enroll in the PhD program, I was a teacher, and at the same time I used to give trainings to the teachers in my free time. Then I was engaged in curriculum development center to develop textbooks and reference materials. So I had three different ways of working, and when I joined PhD program, there I prepared proposal for the um, uh, teaching learning materials development. For that reason, I prepared the proposal. But later on, there was a fellowship program from the NORAD Rupantaran project, that is in collaboration with Norway and Nepal. So I got the opportunity and changed my proposal to some extent to match with the project issue that was linked with the curriculum development.
Okay. So you're getting a sense of what you need to write for this article, right? You need just to write some of this that you've just described for me, like
Development and other means.
your social.
Reasonable or more relevant to work with the. Shall I continue?
Sure.
Then I found more relevant working with the teachers because I felt more into the teachers' work rather than to deal with the curriculum. So I found more like talking with them, talking with the community people, talking with the teachers. I found more empathetic towards the teachers. Then I felt like I need to work on teachers' professional development, because I had been working in different areas, as I said, in curriculum development and teachers' professional development. And being a teacher, I found that is more convenient or more relevant to my case. So then I started to work it, and based on our project site was not in the school where I was working, but in the rural part of Nepal, that is away from my hometown. So that I was there because of that reason. Not that was not my choice, rather that was the choice of the project. So and I the place where I work, that is very much very much okay for me, because I love the hills and mountains rather than the plain areas. So that was enjoyable for me.
Okay. So now you've got two parts to your article, right? You've articulated the values.
Okay.
You've got evidence to support your claims to live those values. You've got you're going to write up your socio-historical context, just as you've described it here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to get into the next section, which is your claim to have improved your practice in terms of being more collaborative.
Mm-hmm.
That now needs data to provide evidence to support it. Mm-hmm. And some of it is in those slideshows, but we need some detail.
Okay, so let's say Shall I share?
Sure.
Yes. When I joined PhD, I had to take two courses. One is curriculum, and another is our methodology class. And our methodology that the project decided was participatory action research. This was already decided approach, and I did not choose this approach, rather it was already there. So it was late on I found it was really friendly to me and my way of working, and that was okay for me. um, I just missed your question. Can you repeat?
You're making a claim that you've improved your practice,
Okay,
and
okay.
particularly in
I
collaboration.
got it. Yes. Then, as I told you, I was more individualistic. I used to love to work alone. But when we started in the university, we two PhD students were enrolled, and there were research assistant, one postdoc, and our supervisor. And in we were set in such a way we were given one room for two PhD student and one postdoc, and together we used to share the same office. And every time my supervisor, he used to come to our office and share the notices, and he used to talk about all the things which we needed to discuss uh, in the project and in our study. So we were there in the office, sharing the office and sharing together, working together, developing the baseline tools and working on the other areas, being in the same office. And slowly and gradually we developed baseline tools, and that we worked together in collaboration. We discussed, we put into our issues there, we visited the field together, and then slowly and gradually I learned to be together with the people and began to enjoy. And soon we continue our research in the field. Always we, along with my colleague, I used to go there and with postdoc, and we used to discuss, we used to share, and we used to work together and reflect together and share uh, our understandings and meanings, confusions, dilemmas together. So then onwards I felt like I was with them together. And then what happened is, uh, till then we were sure that he was doing his project and I was choosing my project. But later on what happened is, we we come to a point where we had to work together, because that was the beginning of the session and teacher wanted to start their activity, and we were not ready yet in the university with our baseline tool. But I felt like I need to go there because they needed me, they want me, they want to start in the at that time. And my colleague, he also joined me, and the program became one program, like my program and his program became one, and we had need assessment, and we I collaborated with him and we continue. Then after, in the workshop, what has come forward is, teachers have come to the understanding that collaboration, and through collaboration and reflection we can have professional development. We can have professional development in our own school rather than waiting for the export from outside. We can collaborate, learn together, being together, rather than seeking for any other expert professional and a different program. We can collaborate and learn from the activities which we have in the school. So teacher decided to collaborate and reflect. That means that was a challenge for me. Till then I was not planning to collaborate and to have such kind of activities. And at the same time, participatory action research is also collaborative approach. And I decided, like I felt like, if I don't collaborate with another researcher, how can I make the environment to have collaborative practice among the teachers? So I asked question to myself, and then I collaborated with with my fellow researcher colleague. Actually, he did not come to collaborate with me. Rather, I went to him and I showed interest of working together, having the same program together. And how we plan is we will be conducting the same activity, and on the same activity he will be looking into his curriculum development aspect, and I'll be looking into my professional development within the same activity. So with the same program, we went through in the collaboration and reflection process. So it continues with that. In the first, after the need assessment, what I did is we develop a professional learning community. Professional learning community, I mean to say, all the basic level teachers. I worked with basic level teachers, and basic level teachers from grade 1 to grade 8. They did not have the culture of sitting together and sharing formally about their learning, about the reflection, about their experiences of their classrooms, ups and downs, their problems openly with the colleagues. That they didn't have culture rather than casual sharing and talking. So what we started together, me, myself, and my colleague, is we sat together in the USAPE, and we all the teachers, they remain in the one room, and that turn into interdisciplinary meeting or interdisciplinary discussion. That was a big, all the basic level teachers, they sit together, means it was not intentional to make it interdisciplinary, rather it happened interdisciplinary. And that was amazing experience, because one subject teacher was uh, giving feedback to another subject teacher, that was very fruitful to the another teacher, and that was very new experience for. I have so many things within that, so I don't share it, just I tell how I improve my collaborative practice. And then after the first cycle, what is reflected is all the teachers who are not active. Only few teachers who are very active in sharing. So we put into our discussion like we want all the teachers, everyone equally participate. So how can we improve this? Then we come to the point, let's work in small groups. And then the big group is planned to divide into small groups. First, we divided in random groups, but we didn't like teachers didn't like that, and they propose let's do in department wise, like English, math, science, which is in existence, like they have there in the school, and as a leader, head of the department becomes the leader, and then different 5 departments which was already existing working in function, not actively, but anyway it was there, and teachers were began to work in the small groups. Then in the second cycle we worked in the small groups, and in the end of the second cycle, what we have come to the point is uh, all the groups are not very much collaborating with each other, because basic level teachers, they have to take different subjects. In the different subject means they are in dilemma in which department they need to join. I take maths, I take science, means whether I need to be in maths department or science department. Science department has different planning, maths department has different planning, so should I do all the work, or so there was so much dilemma. So what I have learned is this departmentalized education is the main barrier for the basic level teachers. So then again we come to the point and we discuss. There are so many things in between, but I just put into it. And then what we have realized is 1, 2, 3 grade teachers are less engaged than grade 6, 7, 8, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because they were more active than 1, 2, 3 grade teachers. And then we planned arts based approach. we planned together, and we started with the 1, 2, 3 grade teachers to work with them. And then we had 4, 5 grade 4, 5 teachers, another inquiry based teaching, like my colleague was working on it, and then 6, 7, 8. So we divided into 3 level wise groups based on the need, like uh, 1, 2, 3. They were more, then they wanted, they were more or less engaged, so that we started first with them. So this way we continue, and in my research continue till the last third cycle. And then in between, in the first cycle, another researcher, a researcher who was working on gardening projects, she came. She wanted to start gardening project, and I collaborated with her. Because why I collaborated with her is, she was working with the students mainly, and also the teacher, and I wanted to see the professional growth of the teacher, because teacher wanted to grow through collaboration and reflection. So I wanted to see how they collaborate with the students and with the researcher, and how they move on. So I felt I need to be there. So I offer, like I offered my help to the researcher, and she liked my offer, and I helped her in the beginning, because I did not ask her that I want to be there, because it may be ethical problem, because that was her research. And then I helped her. She liked my help, and I was there, and I was working there. Not, I was not very much active, but I was there as an observer, helper, and also in between, uh, taking the role of the teachers in between wherever I felt like I need to speak there. Then in the second cycle, what happens is, another researcher for the ICT integration, ICT integration, another researcher comes, and for him, he wanted help from me, because he wanted to know the status of the teachers' interests and their need in the ICT integration, because I was been involving teachers for the ICT integration for through peer learning. Like teachers wanted to learn from each other, and they were in learning every Friday with the teachers, and they were engaged with in their ICT familiarization. So after second cycle, almost mid of the cycle, we invited ICT researcher, and he was there, and he wanted help from me to update, so that I was there in his need assessment, and then continue with him for still second cycle, because I wanted to know that how teacher would continue their learning, collaborative learning with another researcher. And in the third cycle, for the parental engagement, we invited another researcher, master's students. These are the all master's students, which our project has planned for the, like whenever we need somebody in the research, we can invite the researcher from the university, and they can contribute to the research. Then we invited a researcher for the parental engagement. And at that moment, what happened is, a teacher who was, not only few teachers, but particularly 2 teachers, they were very much interested on the parental engagement. They were not happy, like why parents are not involved in the school, or they are not involving their showing interest to the students learning. And at that time, um, when the researcher came, I told him that these are the teachers who have been sharing since the beginning. They are quite interested in the parental engagement, and they have been contributing. They are going visiting to the parents and working on it. Why don't you talk with them first, so that you can plan accordingly? So I proposed him to talk with the teachers, and he found them very informative and helpful, and he worked with the same teachers. He worked with very few teachers, but the teachers to whom I recommended, he worked with the same teachers, and that was very much effective program. Later on, that proved into, but later on all the teachers joined the program, not only 2. Later on, after a few months, 3-4 months, all the teachers joined the parental engagement activity. It was started from the 2 teachers. So this way I collaborated with the teachers, I collaborated with the researchers, and in each activity I was there, uh, being with them and working with them, and every time I was uh, like I can show the evidences, like each time my collaboration periphery was extending. Like first I collaborated with one researcher, then to the teachers, then high school teachers, then comes another researcher, then I link to the students, then I link to the community people. So it was expanded in like ripples, like we can say the ripple of the water. So there are so many evidences on it.
So you have a lot of data there, a lot to work from. The one question I would have is, um, that is, if you talk about triangulation, right? The three ways of supporting a claim to know. So you've given me one there in terms of you're describing your improvement in collaboration. Are there other voices that you have recorded or have record of or could get record of that would be able to say, I saw Parbati being more collaborative in this situation? So you talked about your research partners. I mean, could he or could one of them corroborate what you've claimed as an improvement? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to suggest. I think you have plenty of data. I think it's a matter of organizing it and strengthening it, okay? So what you've described for me today is the beginning of this article. So the values that you say you use to explain your life, those values need to be used when you're describing your influence. So it's your influence on yourself, on others, and on social formations where you work and live. Okay, so that's one of the core concepts in living theory. You're using your values as explanatory principles to explain your life, your influence on yourself, on others, and on social formations where you live and work. So we need those other voices, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a fellow researcher, but somehow we need to bring those voices in. So do you have that anywhere, or would you have to get it?
For the evidences, I have my journal entry.
Okay.
If it really makes better sense, I can invite my fellow researcher in the conversation, or I can ask with him for his reflection. So
okay, so there's two ways you can do it. Either you can engage him right in a conversation like this, or you can begin the writing and then ask him to respond by saying, you know, I can support this claim because I saw this and this and this. You understand me?
Okay, yes, I can do that. I can ask with other fellow researchers as well if required. But if it does not take a long or very lengthy process, because whatever I have done, because they know what I have been doing, and I don't think there will be a problem. Or
I don't either. I think it's just a matter of getting it.
yes, so I will try. Like I will try in my own convenience, but I'll be asking with my fellow researcher to sit with me and have conversation together with you, so that
Perfect.
we can write together, or we can fellow researcher and me myself can write the same article together, as me as a first author and he can be the second author, and develop this or if
Or he
that
could
is
write his own. I mean, you can both be writing articles. You would come at it because remember that the basic question of living theory is how can I improve, right?
mm,
So it has to be an
yes.
I question as opposed to a we question.
Okay, so that I request him for his input in my uh, improvement of my practice, so I can get his journal entry or his some evidences so that I can prove my practices.
Or you could invite him into one of our conversations.
Yes, yes, sure, I can do that.
Okay, so and before we meet again, you're going to do some writing.
Sure.
So
So
you're going to
so.
write about your values, how
Mhm,
those values are explanatory principles to
mhm,
describe the nature of your influence on yourself, on others, and on social formations, how
mhm,
you are improving your capacity to collaborate, and you're going to write your context, right?
mhm.
Kind of the historical, social context that where you are and live so that the reader knows who is this person that's sharing her research.
Okay. What I have understood is whatever we have been discussing, talking now will be I'll be documenting that in
Right,
my own way, right?
right. And when you are ready to share, you
Mm-hmm.
send it to me either as a Word doc or a Google Doc, whichever way you like, and I'll respond to you as soon as you do that.
Okay, great.
And then you need to tell me when you're ready to chat again.
Sure. So then, when shall I invite my colleague for this Skype talk?
Well, I'd like you to do a little writing first.
Okay.
Okay? It doesn't have to, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be all done. It's just you getting it down on paper and it gives us a basis for conversation.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
I'll do. Okay, I'll do
Now
that.
I know you're busy and you're trying to do your get your university classes and all that, so there's no pressure here. You understand that, right?
Yes. Yes.
If this isn't a pleasure for you, then I don't want to make your life hard.
No, 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 no. It is great help for me, and I'm feeling so lucky that I'm getting this opportunity to get the help from you. So it
Well,
was
you're
my great
teaching me
honor.
too, you know. I mean, we're both learning.
Yes, I understand, but it's more helpful to me than to you.
Well, we'll see, okay?
Thank you so much.
So you're going to get in touch with me. You're going to share some of your writing, and then we're going to set up another conversation.
Sure, sure.
Okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Namaste.
lovely to see you.
Yes, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.